So in this video, we're going to take a look at multiplying and dividing negative fractions. So let's get started. So let's take a look at our first example here. We've got negative 4 over 5 times negative 1 over 10. So the first thing that we can do is we can think about what sign we're going to have. So we're doing a negative number times another negative number, which this is going to give us, that's right, a positive number. So we know that our answer is going to be positive. And then now we can just do our multiplication. So when we're multiplying, I've got 4 over 5 times 1 over 10. And one strategy is I could just multiply across and do 4 times 1, which is 4, and then 5 times 10, which is 50. But then I would have to simplify. And if I can simplify, I could do this divided by 2, and then that divided by 2, so this would simplify to 2 over 25. However, when we're multiplying, it's a really good strategy to cross simplify. So we're going to do that strategy, and I will do that in purple. So if I do this question again, I've got 4 over 5 times 1 over 10. Again, it was negative. You see that they were negative, but notice that I did this part here and I don't have anything negative. Well, I don't have it negative because I already know my answer is going to be a positive. So I'm just going to now multiply positive numbers. So I've got 4 over 5 times 1 over 10, and I can simplify. So if I look on my diagonals, so if I look at this diagonal here, I can see that 4 and 10 can both be divided by 2. So I could rewrite this fraction out as 4 divided by 2, which is 2 over 5 times 1 over 5. And then I know that now I can multiply across, so I get 2 over 25. So notice that we get the same answer in both ways of doing it. This is just a little bit nicer to simplify here in case the numbers get too big, because some of us might not recognize that 4 over 50 can be simplified. So our final answer for this one is going to be that negative 4 over 5 times negative 1 over 10 is just going to be positive 2 over 25. So let's take a look at another example, and this is going to be doing mixed numbers. So again, I'm going to look at the signs of my fractions first. I have a positive fraction multiplied by a negative fraction. So I've got a positive times a negative, which means that my answer will be negative. So I'm just going to write right from the beginning that my answer is going to be negative. Now, I can also estimate, because we've been doing a lot of estimation as well. And if I estimate, I could say that 4.5, let's just say, is closer to 5, so to 5, times negative 2 and 2/3, well, that's going to be closer to negative 3. So now I've got 5 times negative 3, which is going to be negative 15. So my answer should be close to negative 15. So let's take a look at doing this problem now. So since we already know that my answer is going to be negative, I'm just going to multiply these two as if they were positive because I already know my sign. So when we're multiplying mixed numbers, we're going to want to make both of our fractions into improper fractions. So we're going to do 4 times 2, which is going to be 8 plus 1, which is 9. So 9 over 2 times 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2, which is going to give me 8 over 3. So now I've got this new fraction of 9 over 2 times 8 over 3. And I can do this problem in one of two ways. I could multiply across. And if I did that, I would get 9 times 8, which is 72, over 2 times 3, which is going to give me 6. And then I would have to simplify this. What's nice is 72 divided by 6 does give me 12, so my answer is going to be 12. Which means my final answer here is going to be negative 12. Now, I'm going to do this also again, but I'm going to do it with cross simplification, just because I'm sure most of us maybe didn't recognize that this could have been simplified to 12. So if I do it with cross simplification, I'm going to rewrite it again. It was just 9 over 2 times 8 over 3. And I'm going to look at my diagonal. So here I'm looking at this diagonal, and 9 and 3 can both be divided by 3. And then taking a look at the other diagonal, 8 and 2, well, actually both of these can be divided by 2. So now when I rewrite this, I'm going to have 9 divided by 3, which is 3, over 2 divided by 2, which is 1, times 8 divided by 2, which is 4, and then 3 divided by 3, which is 1. And now I can multiply across. 3 times 4 makes 12, 1 times 1 makes 1, and then 12 over 1 is just 12. So personally for me, using this strategy is going to be better because I know that these numbers will get smaller when I get to here, and then it was a lot easier to know that it was 12 versus having to look at 72 over 6 and then having to simplify that to 12. So here our answer is going to be 12 when we do our positive work, but our final answer, because we know that a positive times a negative is going to be negative, which is why it's negative 12. And notice that it's close to my estimate of negative 15. So now let's take a look at dividing our negative fractions. So in this one, we've got negative 4 over 5 divided by negative 12 over 17. So I've got a negative number divided by a negative number, which means my answer is going to be positive. So I know my answer is going to be a positive number. So I'm going to rewrite my fractions out, and this time I'm going to actually put the signs in my work so you can see a different way of doing this. So I've got negative 4 over 5, and notice that originally I had a negative in front. If I want to, I can put the negative beside the numerator. I can leave it like that. So I'm just going to rewrite it because it means the same thing. So divided by negative 12 over 17. So when we're dividing fractions, we're going to keep our first fraction. We're going to now do multiplication, and we're going to do the reciprocal of the second fraction. So the reciprocal means that we're just going to flip our fraction to 17 on top. And since I had the negative here with the 12, I'm going to put my negative 12 underneath. So for this one here, I've got to do, if I do multiplying across, I would have to do 4 times 17, and that's too big for me to want to do right now. So instead, I'm going to check my diagonals and see if I can simplify. So I'm going to look, I've got negative 4 and I've got negative 12 here. So this can be simplified. I can divide both 4 and 12 by 4. So I'm going to do that to make my life a little bit easier. So now I've got negative 4 divided by 4. And negative 4 divided by 4 is just going to be negative 1, and then I'm still over 5, times 17 over, I've got negative 12 divided by 4, which is going to be negative 3. And now I can multiply across. This is a little bit easier. Negative 1 times 17 is negative 17 over 5 times negative 3, which is going to be negative 15. So now notice here I've got a negative sign over a negative sign. Remember, fractions is just like division. So I'm going to just bring this up over here. So it's like saying negative 17 divided by negative 15. And we just talked about how a negative number divided by a negative number is positive. So this is now like saying we have positive 17 over 15. But notice now that this is an improper fraction. The top number on the top is bigger than the number on the bottom. So we're going to have to write this as a mixed number. So 15 goes into 17 one whole time. And then the remainder will be 2 over 15. So our final answer is going to be a positive 1 whole and 2 over 15. All right, so let's take a look at our last example. We've got negative 1 over 3 times 2 and 2/3. So again, I have a negative number divided by, I hope I said divided by a positive number. So negative divided by positive is going to give me a negative answer. So I know my answer is going to be negative, so I could just put my negative sign here. So I know that my answer is negative. Now, let's make our fraction that we have as a mix as an improper fraction. So we're going to have negative 1 over 3 divided by 2 times 3 makes 6. 6 plus 2 makes 8. So I've got 8 over 3. And now from here, I can keep my first fraction, change this to multiplication, and then do the reciprocal, which is 3 over 8. Before I start multiplying across, I should check my diagonals. So here I'm going to check this diagonal, and -1 and 8, they don't have any common factors, so I can't do anything for that. But I can look at 3 and 3, and both of those numbers can be divided by 3. And now I can rewrite my fraction. I've got -1 over 3 divided by 3, which is 1, times 3 divided by 3, which is 1, over 8, and then now multiply across. -1 times 1, which is -1, and 1 times 8, which is going to be just 8. So here now I've got my final answer of -1 over 8. So I can put negative in front like this, over 8, or I could write -1 over 8 on top like that. Both of these would be correct.